Give us free. Give us free.
Your Honor, please instruct the defendant that he cannot disrupt these proceedings with such outbursts.
Give us free. Give us free.
If we are to have any semblance of orderliness,
Give us free.
Peace, unity, and welcome my conscious and unconscious family and friends. This is the all-new Black Village Community Podcast, and I am truly your host of the show, JC, aka Afro Black, dropping nothing but the raw and uncut, without any fear, as I use my mic as a spear to chuck you with liberated truth. I am your host and your native soldier in the struggle. My purpose and mission for this show is first to enlighten, inform, and engage. And I want to engage with all who claim to know the truth. All truth seekers and my native family, I welcome you. This show is dedicated to all our indigenous native ancestors and to all those who've carried the mantle of truth, and to every person with the ability to throw off the chains of comfortable habit and unwarranted assumption and move in a new, liberated direction that is guided by truth and observational evidence, no matter where that direction may lead you. My main objective and purpose here is freedom, mind, soul, and spirit. That being said, welcome to the Black Village Community Podcast, and much love from our great universal goddess and mother of all, living here and above.
DC in the house.
Come
Gang whistles and pistols at nightfall. Bang on them for the lives that remain lost. Click clack is the get back, new attitude for blacks. Got a bang for the way they treat us like animals. Police clap and beat us like animals. Police black with heaters to protect and to serve. Better know who your enemies are. Been too much talking, man. No talking. No more speeches, candles. No marching. No more grieving parents. No sharking. No more calls for peace. Let's spark it and ride on these pigs till the wheels fall off. Collide for our rights till we rise above. Ain't no time for no talking, let's chalk them off. Back them off as the show to call till they recognize. It's the night of a long night. 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 It's the night of a long night. Night of a long night. When we all come together, hope we don't collide. It's the night of a long night. 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 It's the night of a long night. Night of a long night. When we all come together, hope we don't collide.
Hey, this is JC, aka Afro Black, and I am here with you for another delicious Black Sunday to drop nothing but the raw and uncut here on the Black Village Community Podcast. And today's podcast subject matter is a little bit different from the one, no, it's totally different, but at the same time I'm going to make some connections because I'm always trying to uplift and enlighten my Aboriginal indigenous family. You feel me? Because that's who I am. That's who we are. Black Americans. We are not Africans. We are not African Americans. We are indigenous Aboriginal Americans. You feel me? And so on that note, today's podcast topic is, and I quote, the lethargic left versus the radical right. the protest and the presidential profess. You feel me? Again, the lethargic left versus the radical right, the protest and the presidential profess. And what I mean by protest, I'm talking about the protest that happened in Charlottesville. That we're going to discuss that, as well as the presidential profess. What I mean by that? Trump professed who he was. He professed that he is a supporter of white nationalists and white supremacists, and we're going to talk along those lines today. You feel me? And so also let me include, before I tone down my music and change my vibe so we can have something more laid back to vibrate to, let me also talk about, I upped my security, got my computer up and running nice and tightly again. So hopefully I should be able to have a nice, smooth podcast with no interruptions. You feel me? No, none of that. So let me change my tone, give us something more lean back and laid back to vibrate to. Yeah. You can get something right there, some Paris. Night of the Long Knives, you feel me? And so I'm here today. I'm happy to be here with my conscious community, being a black, indigenous, aboriginal man, soldier. Do what I got to do what I must do my part on the way I got to do. So today I'm gonna talk about Mr. Trump, Mr. Presidential Trump. Who just allowed all the closet door to slam open, and everybody can just see him for who he is. I mean, I knew the man was a white supremacist before he became president, with all the rhetoric and all the ridiculous bigotry that was coming out of his mouth, and all he did was just let his true colors show. So to get this thing going, so there's a whole lot of things, whole lot of political ideology, philosophies, agendas, and missions that is pulling at this country, and has been pulling at this country for years and controlling this country, people. So to get things rolling and started, because I'm connecting this to our president, the president, which is Donald Trump, the person who ran on the agenda of, immigration. I mean, people need to realize what came out of his mouth should not be a shock to anyone, even his supporters. The only people that I'm pretty sure who are mostly shocked more than anybody are the celebrity house Negroes out there. And not just celebrity house Negroes, just house Negroes in general who supported Trump, who didn't want to believe that this man was a white supremacist with white nationalist ideology and philosophy. His black supporters and his Latino supporters didn't want to believe this. Even his Asian supporters didn't want to believe. They want to believe this man is just an American businessman that's going to make the country better because he's a businessman, when he's really a con and a crook. So, what I want to point out before I play this audio cast, I want to point out, from the time that Barack Obama became president in 2008, throughout his 4-year or 2 4-year term presidential candidacy, his term, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, there was a rise in hate groups. And as it stands right now, we have almost 1,000. I said almost 1,000 hate groups in this country. Okay. Actually, to be specific, according to the Poverty Law Center, we have over 917 hate groups. And I want you to know that number was not 917 prior to Barack Obama. Before Barack Obama, it was more around between 500 and 600, and it just jumped when he became president. I'm looking at it right now. Well, we have 193 black separatist groups. We have 130 Ku Klux Klan organizations, 101 anti-Muslim organizations, 100 general hate groups, 100 white nationalist groups, 99 neo-Nazi groups, 78 racist skinhead groups, 52 anti-LGBT organizations, 43 neo-Confederate groups, and 21 Christian identity groups. Now that's a getter right there. Christian identity. That means these are racist religious organizations. Christian identity 21 Christian identity groups. So before I play the audio cast, let me raise some questions here, okay? The question I want to raise is this: the delusion of why. What delusion is that? The delusion of why. Why does racism always end with why? Because right now, I want you to know, celebrity house Negroes and also house Negroes who just voted, those house Negroes in the populace who voted for Trump, they're asking themselves why. See, I'm not questioning white people on this. I'm an Aboriginal Black American. So this show that I do, my podcast is to inform my people. I'm not trying to inform white people. I'm not trying to talk to white people. Donald Trump did that. You feel me? The college electoral who put him in office, because the populace didn't put Trump in office. The college electoral put him in office. I'm not talking to them. I'm talking to Black Americans. This is what my podcast is about. And speaking to Black people, the question is this: why does it always end up with why? Why is the delusion of why, when it comes to racism, always end up with why? While the media, the educational institution, and professional and educational professionals question why. Why are the people of America still dealing with racism and racist organized white nationalist groups in the year 2017? Why are we even talking about this? Why? Why do we always say why? You feel me? I'm going to tell you why we always say why. The reason why we always raising the question, the reason why Black people are always saying why, when Black people should know why. If anybody should know why things are the way they are, if anybody should comprehend the situation better than the perpetrator themselves, it should be us, Black people. Because we've always been the victims and we've always been the end result of everything. The end result of everything always sits on top of us. When it comes to unemployment, it's higher in the Black community. When it comes to death in America, it's higher in the Black community. When it comes to the infant child death, as far as children dying and abortion, as well as children dying from the lack of nutrition and food, is always higher in the Black community. When it comes to domestic abuse, when it comes to child abuse, it's always larger in the Black community. When it comes to the lack of education, when it comes to the lack of unity, it's always larger in the Black community. So we should know why. The reason why we should know why is because we're not repairing ourselves. We're too busy looking to the white man to repair us. We was looking to Barack Obama to do something, to repair our situation, instead of us looking to us. Instead of us looking to our own history, we still relying on the white man to tell us the narrative of our story, when we should look into our grandmothers and our great-grandmothers and our aunties and our grandfathers to tell us our stories. You feel me? That's why we're constantly saying why, because instead of us looking to us, because if we look to us, if we researched our own history, if we researched our own culture, instead of letting the white man's institutions, the white man's media, the white man's educational system tell us who we are, if we didn't look to him, we wouldn't have to ask why, because we would know why. But whenever you look to the white devil, you're going to always have a question mark of why, because the white devil is constantly playing political games, playing educational games, playing mind games, religious games, political games. This is the reason why we constantly have a problem with fucking goddamn crime, because they're not trying to get rid of crime. Anybody who knows the history of what happened in the 1980s with cocaine and drugs coming into the U.S. knows that the government infiltrated that. There's no secret. There's nothing hid. It's sitting right there in the history books, sitting in the news, on the archives. Anybody can go see it. Black people, we need to look to us, and we need to stop looking to house niggas, because house niggas are nothing but porch monkeys for the white man. We got to come together. We got to stop looking to the pimps on the pulpit, because the pimps or the preachers on the pulpit are nothing but pimps for the white man to appease him and kiss his boots. So let me get into this audio cast, because me, JCAK Afro Black, I get to preaching and I can't stop, you feel me? So let me play this audio cast and we'll get things going from there, and I'll be returned right after this.
On Monday, Donald Trump went to the mic in the White House and read this.
Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
There you go. Maybe not inspiring or heartfelt, but the right thing to say. And you know it was the right thing to say because he hated saying it. Evidently, Donald Trump fumed to aides about how unfairly he was being treated and expressed sympathy with nonviolent protesters who he said were defending their heritage. So, yesterday afternoon, when he was supposed to be talking about highway infrastructure, Donald Trump drove America's moral leadership right through the guardrails by saying some of the people bearing torches with the Nazis were just good Joes.
Not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. I think there's blame on both sides. And I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either.
Oh, Mr. President, there is only one thing I no longer have any doubt about. You showed us who you were. Everywhere in this country. There you go. You put it out there. Everywhere in this country, people were horrified. North, South, Republican, Democrat, top, bottom, sweet, sour. But you know who loved what Donald Trump said? Donald Trump. Aides say Trump was in a very good mood after the press conference and felt liberated. Liberated, free, emancipated, if you will. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. You like that? Melania wrote that. She's very good. Now, she did. Now.
There you go. There you go right there. That's the first piece of the audio cast. And I only played that. That's a comical. That's just a comical. I didn't even play any real, real media coverage. I got some real stuff. I got some stuff I want to play by Rachel Maddow. And the reason why I chose clips from her show is because Rachel did, to me, in my opinion, the most clear-cut, obvious coverage of Trump's being a white supremacist. She pointed out some clear-cut things, and she even went into his past, showing some things. And I went and did some research on what she did and found out she knew what she was talking about. So that right there, I mean, just looking at the fact that he is peddling to white nationalists. He said that, if you are a white supremacist, your position politically, your position historically is violence. Neo-Nazis and white supremacists have a violent history. They know this, they admit this, and they're proud of it. Due to the fact that they were there to protest against a monument, which is General Lee, who is also, or was, in history, a professed white supremacist, and fought to keep slavery, fought to keep the values of the so-called antebellum South. Okay, and they're there to protest. They have the right to protest, but the question is this: what do they represent? White people are so quick to jump and say, "Oh, Farrakhan is a racist. Farrakhan represents chaos and violence." And Farrakhan does preach. He does have some violent things that he preach on. But black people has the right to express the hurt, the pain, the anger, the anguish. We have a history in this country of being, to be bluntly raw and uncut, shitted on, not only by the government, by white society at large. Okay? And so, black people, to me, Farrakhan has the right He's been preaching the way he's been preaching since he's been a Nation of Islam, since I've known, since the 1950s. But you don't see the Nation of Islam having a history, any violent history of lynching white people, a violent history of killing, murdering, torturing, harassing people, white people. But white supremacists have a history of this. From the past to the present. Hasn't changed. Now we got the media, we got the police department, we got the government and the DOJ turning their eyes and their backs to things, and then things happen to black people, and then a year later it just falls and gets swept under the rug and nobody's saying nothing about it, even though everybody knows who the perpetrators of the violence, who perpetrated it. Everybody knows who did it, but yet they still, the media along with the government and the system and the law system still has a history of playing sweep under the rug game with white supremacist organizations. The thing about it is, what should we as black people do knowing now that we have a white supremacist in office? What is he going to do? What is his supporters going to do? You feel me? That's the question. That's the question. I'm going to tell you what we should do. I'm going to go into that in a little bit. But let me play some more of this audio cast, this audio of Stephen Colbert. I thought was very interesting before I play some serious stuff. So let me play this and I'll return.
I'm still recovering, personally. Oh, yeah. I'm still recovering from President Trump's kamikaze press conference yesterday, where Donald let Donald be Donald. The consequences and our country be damned. And it was truly one for the ages, specifically 1939 to 1945. Let me just, I have those years, right? 36. Let's just remind ourselves of how we got to wherever we are right now. Last Saturday, which I think was a year ago, something like that, Nazis and the KKK provoked violence in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's what they wanted. That's why they went there. After a Nazi killed a young woman named Heather Heyer, Donald Trump made a statement and improvised during the statement that there was violence on many sides. And people were upset, other than Nazis. Nazis liked it. So Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly, pressed Trump to make another public statement. Grudgingly, Mr. Trump agreed. Okay, I'll say Nazis are bad, but you can't make me mean it, okay? I call. Fingers crossed, okay? I call Nazi backsies. So.
There you go again. That's another clip. Now, you might be saying, how could you play something comedic about something tragic? Well, you got to look at the political satire of Colbert. To make light of a serious situation, but at the same time get you to see the seriousness of it. He made fun of Donald Trump. He didn't make fun of the protester who was killed. If you listen to that, he seriously made, to me, I saw the point in the seriousness of the fact that this president, instead of commenting on the fact that a young girl who was not there perpetrating violence, who was not bothering nobody but there supporting the opposition of the neo-Nazis, got mowed over and ran over by a neo-Nazi who ran through the crowd with his car, killing her and injuring 20 others. And how Trump said nothing in remorse or compassion in reference to this young woman who was killed. Mind you, she was a white woman. And also let me make known that I got much respect for white people who went out there who protested. It was mostly white folks out there protesting against those neo-Nazis or white nationalists. I personally don't want to use the term with neo-Nazi. I know the media is using the term neo-Nazi a lot. But what you got to realize, if you've seen the video footage of those people who was out there protesting against General Lee's statue coming down, those who were protesting in favor of a Confederate statue that they're calling neo-Nazis. I saw more well-dressed college student young men. I saw more well-dressed, look like middle-class white people out there. Even some white women I saw out there. But I got to give it up for those white people who came to protest in opposition of those. It was black folks out there, but it was mostly white people out there fighting those white nationalists, or the alt-right, as they have rebranded themselves. It was mostly white people. I got to give it up to white people. The white people who stood up against racism. I've always said, I've always told my wife, I've always told my friends, I've always told my white friends that racism will not be crawling to the hole to bury itself until white people face it. Racism will not crawl back under the rock, under the ancient relic rock of where it belongs. It will not kill itself until white people stand up against their relatives, their friends, their associates, who they know are white supremacists. Or I'm not even like, excuse me, nationalists. Those with those white nationalists are alt-right philosophical political ideologies. I'll never forget a few years back, my maintenance man who worked on my home was doing some work around my home, and his name was Bill. His name was Bill, and he asked me a question. This was during I believe around 2014. He asked me this question when Barack Obama was still president. He said, I know people are mad because police officers are killing unarmed black people. He said, but Mr. JC, let me ask you a question, JC. What about the fact that you got so many black people killing each other, black on black crimes? I looked at him and I want to say something to him about the fact that when it comes to the statistics of ethnic killings, you have just as many, if not more, just as many white people who kill each other, Asian people who kill each other, and black people. The averages are not far from one another when you look at the statistical ratio. And I encourage him, you can go look that up. You can go check it out on the federal FBI's crime list. You can go check it out. The ratio of racial killings of black on black crimes, white on white crimes, Latino on Latino crimes, and Asian on Asian crimes. But this is what I told him, though. This is what I told Bill. And I told Bill, and I'm saying it again. I said, Bill, you know what? Instead of asking a question about why black people kill black people, why don't you think about the fact that racism will not end until white people face white people? Black people can't make racism go anywhere. Brown people, which are Latino people, we can't make racism. You know why we can't make racism? Because we are not the authors of racism. We did not create the ideology or the philosophical ideology of racism. We did not create the political boundaries from which racism exists on. We didn't create. White people created this. The white man and his white woman created this that we have to deal with, that people around the world have to deal with. The political racism, educational racism, social racism. And racism has bred other isms and phobias. Chauvinism. Gender racism. Homophobia. All these isms are sprouts and extensions of racism itself and bigotry itself. And I've always said this, and I told Bill, it's not going to end. It's not going to stop until white people are willing to put themselves out on the line. Until white people are not afraid. Until white people got the balls to stand up against their own fellow angry, childlike, immature, with no intelligence, relatives, friends, and associates who embrace bigotry and false philosophies. So, on that note, before I go any further, let me open up the conference room. Anybody got anything they want to say? Nephew, And brother, anybody want to say they want to comment on so far of what I just put forth? Okay, look like everybody is quiet in the conference room.
You hear?
Oh yeah,
You hear me?
y'all see if anybody got anything they want to contribute so far that from what they've heard. If nobody got nothing to contribute, I got some. I got some information. I got some stuff I want to share from Rachel Maddow, her perspective on this, and she did Rachel Maddow did a very, 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 very good show on Donald Trump, and putting forth the information and the evidence that this man, he had a different agenda when he took office. You feel me? And so, but so far what I just played Stephen Colbert and his political satire, which I thought was good, pointing out the fact that, the same thing. He said Donald Trump just showed him who he really was. What do you guys think? Go ahead. You're sounding choppy. Can you fix your phone where you can sound more clear? You still sounding choppy.
Man. Hey, you know what? I'm gonna call you on a different phone.
Okay, all right, nephew. You want to contribute something to this conversation about what you heard so far? You want to check out this other audio cast? You tell me.
I was going to say, earlier we were talking about how this article I read earlier this week about Donald Trump threatening to, shoot, nukes at North Korea or whatever. And it was just kind of funny how he kind of sounded like a gangster or a thug, talking about his ops.
Are you honest, right? That's right. We were talking about this earlier. About
how we got a president talking like that. Supposed to be the president.
Basically, you're talking about President Trump's his rebuttal to Kim Jong-il, the president, I guess the guy over there in North Korea, who's constantly making threats, and how he said, if he does anything towards the U.S. or any of the U.S.'s allies, it's going to be a fury of fury of fire, a fury. And you're right. They both, when you listen to what the president Kim Jong-il was saying over there about, you're right. They sound like thugs. Like, you do something, I'm gonna do something to you. You do something to my homeboys, I'm gonna do something to you. They do. They sound like thugs, like street thugs.
Oh, wow.
That is definitely right. I mean, he didn't sound intelligent at all. He didn't sound intelligent. He didn't sound intuitive. He didn't sound wise. He sounded like a white thug. It's gonna be fire. America's rain down a fire of fury on North Korea.
I was like, wow. You think a president would be a little bit more intelligent with what he was say.
Exactly. You would think so. You would think that he would come at the situation with a little bit more educated intelligence and political savviness than to just make an open statement like that. That was almost like trying to antagonize the man to do something. Why would you want to do some shit like that and the man got nuclear weapons?
And Korea is right. It's real close to California.
Well, exactly, and to be raw and uncut about it, it has nothing to do with a show of fear, because we all know that for the most part, America has nothing to be afraid about when it comes to military might, because America, that's one of America's prime things, is the love of war and the military. It's the point of being smart, intuitive, and wise. Because there's South Korea.
I'll get that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I randomly ran across a little small documentary how the U.S. How they spending way too much money now on military defense and stuff like that. Like it kind of saying? You know, like Dr. was kind of arguing like it kind of like, you know, a waste of money to keep spending all this, you know, we can spend it on other things, you know what I'm saying, in America to help, you know, people and stuff.
Well, when you think about what America does in other countries and how they influence other countries politically, toppling countries, and I mean things that we don't even know what's going on that they do. We can't even imagine. And then that right there itself can give a person a comprehension of why they put so much money in our military. We spend more money in our military than combined countries. You feel me? Then we spend more money on our military than any country in the world. You know, so we do spend way too much money in our military. The question is why? Well, when you look at what they got going on and what they're doing and how they, you know, instigate wars, agitate wars, topple governments, influence other countries' political positions and for their own selfish purposes and means. And when you look at the game that's being played like a chessboard, didn't you know why they put so much money in the military? Because they're, you know, that's called fear because of the crap that you're creating around the world. You feel me?
Yeah.
So, you know, but at the same time, like you said, if that money was evenly dispersed out, you know, and properly spent for the purpose of the people here in America, you know, it can be better used. But, you know, why would they give money to other departments within our country when the departments within our country don't even spend the money? Our state and federal governments don't even spend money right. You feel me? We got misuse and corruption on state and federal levels. You feel me? As well as county levels as well in within other states. You feel me? So it's almost like saying shit rolls downhill. The shit started uphill, now it's rolling downhill, and that's why everybody got shit on them. You feel me? Just being raw and uncut, just like that. You feel me? So we basically, you know, there's an overhaul that needs to happen within this country. And that overhaul has not happened because there's too much corruption at the top.
Yeah.
Just to be raw and uncut about it. You feel me? Yeah. So on that note, you know, I want to bring up the fact that, you know, one of the things that I think we can do as a people, as black aborigines, as black American aboriginal people, as American aboriginal people, we need to band together. I'm constantly saying this, I'm going to constantly say this, I'm going to constantly say this. We got to unite as a people. Now, one of the people I think we should unite with, and I think that's going to take them waking up on their part, is the Mongoloid Native Americans. And now somebody might say, well, working with the Mongoloid Native Americans is like working with the white man. That's not true. The Mongoloid Native Americans have a history with us. They were here. They were the first people to come over here when our people was already here. The Native Americans came over to Bering Strait over 12,000 years ago. They have history with us. They're Mongoloid tribes and woodland Indian tribes, which are the aboriginal tribes that created other tribes due to the fact of our union coming together. Tribes like the Cherokee. The Cherokee was a combination of Mongoloid and black aboriginal people. The Yamakra. A Yamakra is also a fraction of the Yamasee and the Crow people coming together. You feel me? So there's a history of many tribes that came together. The Seminoles are a result of different tribes coming together. And so that's what I personally think we need to do. I'm looking at right now, I'm looking at an ad. I'm looking at a newsworthy ad by The Guardian. The Guardian is a online news worthy journalistic website, and I'm looking at something right here by The Guardian. Is titled "The U.S. should return stolen land to Indian tribes," says United Nations. The United Nations are constantly talking about what the U.S. is doing. Anybody want to know what the U.S. is doing? Go look up archived information on the United Nations constantly saying that the U.S. has violated human rights and have violated their own treaties, have violated against black people, and with the violence against black people. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, but the number one thing before Mongoloids and Aborigines can unite together as a people, the Mongoloids got to admit who we are. The Mongoloids for years have been playing the same game, political game, Willie Lynch syndrome game to keep black people in a state of amnesia. Not all Mongoloids are doing this, but the mass majority of Mongoloid Native Americans are playing the same game that the white man wants them to play. Also, Mongoloids going to have to admit that their people traded our people by selling our people to the white man as slaves, by taking up arms with the Europeans, killing and slaughtering our Aboriginal people. Mongoloids did this. The Navajo was one of the tribes that worked with the Europeans during their European expansion. When it comes to me, if you ask me what we need to do as a people, we need to continue to wake our people up. We need to continue to open the eyes of our people. Our women need to wake up and realize who they are. We are not Africans and we are not African Americans. We are Aboriginal, indigenous Black Americans. And to be specific, to put it politically correct, we are Aboriginal Americans. We are the children of the autochthonous people. We are the children and the descendants of the Amerindian Aboriginal people of North America. And that's something that the Mongoloid tribes are continually playing the political game to hide, not only from us, but most of all, even from their own children, to keep the agenda going. So Mongoloids need to wake up, and they being killed by white people and being killed by they being starved. They have a high rate of drugs and alcohol on the reservations. They have the high rate of domestic violence, high rate of abortion. Everything that the black community has and is going through, the Mongoloid on the reservation is and has and is going through. So they need to wake the hell up and stop embracing white supremacy, because that's what a lot of these Mongoloid Indians do, and then turn right around and deny the racism that they perpetrate on Aboriginal Black Indians and even their own people who stand up against it. So, on that note, let me play this. I'm going to play this by Rachel Maddow. I'm going to get serious now. Play something serious by Rachel Maddow, and I shall return.
In the fall of 1926, September 1926, the Ku Klux Klan held what they called their conclave, their national conclave in Washington, D.C. Second time they rallied, thousands strong in D.C. in 2 straight years. When they turned up in 1926, they turned out 50,000 masked, robed Klansmen who marched in formation through Washington, D.C. Most of these pictures are from the Library of Congress. No matter how many times I have seen them, no matter how many times I have gone through these pictures, I still have a hard time believing that show of Klan force in Washington, D.C., I still have a hard time believing it's real. But that was real. That was 1926. 50,000 Klansmen marching in Washington, D.C. The following year, in 1927, there was a Klan rally and march in New York City. It started off with a group of fascists, literally fascists, black shirts, who clashed with New York City police. And then that melee was joined by about, according to contemporaneous news coverage, by about 1,000 Klansmen who turned out in New York, in Queens, to march against the police. The New York Times published at the time some of the text of the handbills, that the flyers that the Klan was distributing at the time, explaining why they were marching, why they were rallying. The headline on the flyer said, "Americans assaulted by Roman Catholic police of New York City." That was their explanation for why they had to go march against the police. And so in May of 1927, 1,000 Klansmen and some assorted fascists marched in Queens, in New York City, and they ultimately rioted and fought with police. Nobody was killed. There was a lot of news coverage of it at the time. which survives both from the New York Times, from the Brooklyn Daily Eagle, from a few other papers. The police commissioner at the time made a point of telling the public that this was kind of a landmark moment for the Klan in New York City. It's not that he didn't know that the Klan was active in New York City. It's just that New York City had never before seen 1,000 Klansmen turn out in the streets in robes and masks like they did in May 1927. According to news reports at the time, there were 7 men who were arrested at that Klan march in New York. One of them was Fred Trump, who was the father of Donald Trump, Donald Trump has previously responded to reporting about this incident by saying it never happened. The whole thing is made up. But there is contemporaneous news coverage that both describes and shows pictures of that mass Klan march, including Klansmen marching in New York City in hoods and robes, and his father's name does show up as one of the arrestees from that march. And the sins of the father are not the sins of the son for anybody. But that is not a reason to ignore history and pretend that everything that's happening in our lifetimes is happening for the first time. I mean, we think of the Klan now in terms of its role as a terrorist organization during Reconstruction, during Jim Crow, during the civil rights eras in the South. We think of the Klan and their attendant modern white supremacist groups as a magnet for toothless losers and con artists and small-time violent thugs and some people who are just legitimately freaking nuts. But it's not ancient history. It's not even ancient family history to recognize that the white supremacist movement in this country, which persists decade after decade after decade, their goals have never been to just exist on the fringe as some sort of kooky throwback peanut gallery for parolees, right? I mean, their goals and their expectations have always been that they should exert real mainstream political power, that they should get to pick the president. At least they should get to pick who runs. I mean, what is unpredictable now is that we don't know what to expect from those groups going forward now that it's a modern president who appears to be picking them. A president who appears to be picking them, to be picking them, to be picking them, to be picking them.
There you go. There you go. That's from the Rachel Maddow show. I chose that. Look what she said. She just said that Donald Trump's father was out there with the Klan in 1927. Matter of fact, I went and looked up and did a little research on that. And I'm looking at something right now from... look, it's all over. I mean, you can find it. It's not hard. And she just gave you some information on where she got some of her information from. It's archived. I'm looking at something right now from... It's called Snopes.com. This is a newsworthy political website that deals with nothing but politics. And it says Donald Trump's father arrested at KK rally in 1927. New York Times article about KK arrest mentioned Donald Trump's father's Fred, but the reporting was it inconclusive? Well, let me go down here. Let's see what they say. This is a political website. Now, it says when it comes to the rating on this, is it true? Is this a mixture? A mixture of what? This is what I believe Snoops. I chose this because I think these guys, I think they're kind of conservative, and they didn't want to really speak bad about Trump's dad. But look what's going on. They say, claim Donald Trump's father was arrested following Ku Klux Klan related altercation in 1927. Then it said, is it true? And was it true? In a 1927 New York Times article named Fred Trump among the individuals arrested at a near riot involving the Ku Klux Klan and New York City police at a memorial parade. Didn't it say, was anything false about it? Look what it says. The article did not document that Fred Trump was a KK member or supporter, or that he was charged with a crime in connection with the event. That's true. The article does not mention that. It doesn't mention, rather, if he was a KKK member. It doesn't mention if he was a supporter. It just says that he was. It doesn't even charge. He doesn't even get charged with a crime, but he was arrested. Okay, but when you go down here, the origin of the information on September 2015, Boing Boing website published an article that referenced an archived New York Times piece from 1927, one which reported that President Donald Trump's father, Fred, Trump had been arrested in connection with a KK event going down to Chicago. The information, according to the New York Times, the article published in June 1927, a man with the name and address of Donald Trump's father was arraigned after Klan members attacked cops in Queens, New York. In 1927, Donald Trump's father would have been 21 years old and not yet well-known figure. Multiple sources report his residence that his residence was at the time and throughout his life at the same address. To be clear, this is not proof that it's Donald Trump Sr. Come on, same address, the same address that's on the archived information, the same name of the person, which is his father, Fred Trump, and they want to say they still want to try to allude to the fact that it's possibly not him. Now, when you take this information, okay, there was a man named Fred Trump who was arrested, who was at a KKK rally against cops in 1927. Even though this article is trying to say that you can't prove that was Trump's father, even though the address and the name match, even though the name and the person match, but yet at the same time, when you look at the after effects of his son, who persists today, Donald Trump, where did he get his racist views from? Well, we're looking at a connection right now with an article that says his father was at a rally with a KKK group rallying against police officers. Well, it was against the police officer. His father is not a cop. So what was he doing there? There is nothing written in the article that there was an opposition protest against the Klan. And if you can imagine, back in 1927, white people were terrified of the Klan, as well as black people. But those white people who did not practice white supremacist or nationalist views were afraid of the Klan. So I'm pretty sure there was nobody out there in opposition. That's why you got white folks right now shocked and pissed off at Donald Trump, because this time the protest included not only white people who were with white nationalist views, but it also included an opposition protest group that was in opposition against, and it was mostly white people, and where a white woman was killed. I'm just gonna be raw and uncut. I'm wondering if this would get the same attention if it was a black woman or a black man who got ran down by that car. The protester who was killed, her mother said she was not going to let her daughter's death be in vain, because her daughter stood up for right. Her daughter, a white woman, stood up for what was right, stood up against the opposition, came out there to a rally against Klansmen. This should motivate white people, more white people, to do the right thing, to stand up against the evils of chaos, the evils of white nationalism. Damn. Tongue twisted right now. So on that note, before I run too much time out, let me open up the podcast. If anybody got anything they want to comment, I just opened up the conference room. I do have another track I want to play, but if anybody got anything they want to say in reference to what they heard so far about Donald Trump's father being connected to a Klan rally back in 1927, it lets you know, it tells me the type of childhood Donald Trump had. Not only a childhood of wealth, because Donald Trump's father was a wealthy man. He was a real estate tycoon. And when Donald Trump's history, he grew up with basically a platinum spoon in his mouth. You feel me? He went to the best colleges. He was chauffeured to school. I mean, come on. This man, throughout his schooling from elementary school to high school to college, was chauffeured to school. You feel me? So he definitely lived what they call the lifestyle. You feel me? So growing up, basically. But to grow up with not only money and prestige, but to grow up with a white supremacist father that taught his son to have a white nationalist perspective of life. Now this man is president, and everybody knows. And so anybody got anything they want to contribute to this, go ahead. I want to hear if anybody got anything they want to say. Or I'm going to play this next track that I want to play by Rachel Maddow. I think, let me just play that. Let me play that. Maybe it'll stimulate some discussion with some folks. You feel me? And we shall return.
when you say the alt-right, define alt-right to me. You define it. Go ahead.
Well, I'm saying,
define it for me. Come on, let's go.
Senator McCain defined them as the same group.
Okay, what about the alt-left that came charging at, excuse me, what about the alt-left that came charging at the, as you say, the alt-right? Do they have any semblance of guilt? Not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists by any stretch. Those people were also there because they wanted to protest the taking down of a statue, Robert E. Lee. So, excuse me, and you take a look at some of the groups and you see, and you know it if you were honest reporters, which in many cases you're not, but many of those people were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. So, this week it's Robert E. Lee. I noticed that Stonewall Jackson's coming down. I wonder, is it George Washington next week? And is it Thomas Jefferson the week after? You know, you really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop? But they were there to protest, excuse me, you take a look the night before, they were there to protest the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me, I saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. You had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No,
I just don't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. You had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest.
There you go. You heard it. The man was speaking in favor of white nationalists. He was speaking and trying to equalize it, and in some cases trying to make it appear that the opposition protesters were the cause of problems, you know, by saying that, well, they didn't have a permit to even be there. Well, they weren't there creating that. They created an organized rally. They were there in opposition. But let me not even argue that or debate that. Rather, if they should have been there or not. Either way it go, them guys were there to protest and to stop the taking down of Robert E. Lee's, a racist, white supremacist, Confederate soldier. And this man is supporting that. So, my question is this. You know, what should black folks be doing? Now we know we got a white supremacist. Should we just keep going as everything is fine and just act like everything is cool? And should we not, you know, should we just go on through the years, everything fine? Or should this not tell us something? Should this not be speaking to us about something, telling us something? To me, that's the problem. Black people just go through life and not pay attention to the signs and the signals of life, and the signs and the signals of government, and the signs and the signals of laws that are put into place. Just the fact, like when you look at the history in this country of the laws, that the Jim Crow laws, or even the laws that are not called Jim Crow laws, they were laws that were put into place by state governments and state counties to limit black people, to stop black people from living in certain areas and buying property in certain areas, to prevent black people from being, I want you to know, they were interracial laws keeping black people from marrying other people of other ethnic backgrounds, and a lot of those laws are still sitting in place. They've never been changed. Folks, we got to wake up. We got to wake up. We got to realize that our religious institutions are not helping and changing our situation. The educational system definitely educates our kids in not such a good way when it comes to self-esteem and true history about who we are. When you talk about black history in schools, please, what black history? When it comes to the government, we got a government we can't even count on. We got a government. What did Barack Obama do for black people? What did he do for the system itself? What did he do for the populace? What did he do to strengthen race relations? Him being a black man, and regardless if he want to say he was not a black president, but he was the American president, which is true. He still was a symbol as a black man that was supposed to represent two people coming together. His mother was white, his father was a Kenyan. A black man from Africa and a white woman in Hawaii. That was supposed to be a symbol of two people coming together. And this man could even bring black and white together. He avoided the subject matter, avoided the topic altogether if necessary, spoke little on it, spoke as little as possible, and moved on to the next subject matter. And then when you think about what did he do when he was in office for black folks, he didn't do nothing for black people. That should tell you something about the system in which he represented, in which he was working for. So black people, we got to depend on each other. We got to look to each other. But see, as it stands right now, the white man has infiltrated a divisive tool within the black community where we can't even depend on each other because we don't trust each other. We don't love each other. We don't look to each other. We don't care about each other. Matter of fact, instead, we try to step on each other to make it up on top of the economic ladder rather than pull each other up or move together with one another. And again, like I said, the Mongoloid Indians need to wake up as well. Because while they sitting on the reservation, which doesn't even make sense to me when you look at the reservation treaties and the reservation agreements that they made with the government, why would you make an agreement with the government giving him the right to take land from you whenever he wants? I would encourage anybody to go check out reservation treaties and you will see. That's why I know that the Native American, this is not really his. He knows it's not. This is his. This is only his by relation to the Aboriginal autochthonous descendant. This is really this land is really the land of the Aboriginal people. Because why would you say Native American? If I was to talk to any Native American, I would love to ask him, how does it make sense to sign a treaty giving the white man the right to take more land whenever he feels necessary? And that's why the Native Americans' land has gotten smaller and smaller over the generations. Because he signed treaties giving the white man the right to do European expansion. That's the only reason why they were able to take that pipeline through North Dakota and through Native American reservation like that, is because they signed treaties giving the white man the right to take land whenever he wants to. An Aborigines wouldn't sign stuff like that. Aborigines wouldn't sign those treaties. They wouldn't sign treaties like that. And that's the reason why the white man was busy trying to slaughter our people throughout the 19th and 18th century. He was busy spending that time. I'm going to do a podcast on the massacring and killing of the Aborigines of California. And you guys will see. That's a huge genocide, cultural as well as physical genocide when you look at what they did to the Aborigines of California. But bottom line, people, we got to wake up. But before I go, and I might just conclude this, I got more information. I didn't even play everything that I wanted to play. But I might just conclude this next week and bring some more information about Donald Trump before I go back and start to continue to talk about and educate my people about our true Aboriginal cultural heritage, as I always do on the podcast, on our podcast here at the Black Village Community Podcast. But let me also ask my visitors here in the conference room, anybody they want to ask any question, anybody want to add anything due to what they've heard so far?
Yeah, can you hear me? This is Brother Carrington. I'm back.
Oh, yeah, and you sound nice and loud and clear, my brother.
Okay, good. Okay, I have at least 3 questions that I want to present. The first one is, did Donald Trump show himself, or did he show the people who he represents? You know, in all that he said in those clips that you played.
No, wait a minute.
The second one.
Wait a minute. Reiterate the first one. Reiterate the first question again.
Okay. Did President Trump show himself or those who he worked who he represents.
Okay, now before you go on to the second one, let me answer the first one. I don't want to lose track of anything. He showed himself.
Okay.
I believe he did both. I believe he showed himself and he showed what the people he represents. Why? Okay, why I say this? I base it on the fact that everybody knows that the person who just got relieved from his position, which was Steve Bannon, who was an editor and a writer for Breitbart. Everybody know he has white nationalist views. He does not argue that or debate that. He know he has white nationalist views. Anybody who's read any of his articles would know that he has white nationalist views. So him bringing Breitbart, who has no political experience, into the political position the way he did, that's proof that he was also representing. Now, why I say he was also representing himself? Well, when you look at the fact that Donald Trump's father, back in 1927, was protesting with Klansmen against the police in 1927 and got arrested. So it lets you know that Donald Trump has come from a childhood, or at least through his father's perspective, was groomed by with white nationalist views. So I would say he was doing both.
Okay, and I would agree with you on that. Because just based upon his family background, we know where he stands.
Exactly.
You know, on that same background, we know the people that are behind him. We know, we basically know the reason why he is in the presidency. You know.
Exactly.
Because those people that are behind everything put him there.
See, now my perspective, though, on the reason why I decided to do a podcast on this subject matter is, again, to, instead of talking about why, we know why. He has white nationalist views that influence his politics, influence his perspective of people and his relationships and all that. But the question is, what should we do about this? And I gave
as far as what we can do about it at this present moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
As far as him being in the presidency, I don't think there's nothing we can do about it. Just watch what's going on and govern ourselves accordingly.
Well, there's one thing that the populace can do. We can also show our disapproval of him as president. When you got people out there who are saying that this man is not their president, that's showing disapproval. What Stephen Colbert did on his show was to show disapproval, and so the American populace need to show this president that nobody approves of his behavior, nobody approves of his presidency, and so maybe he'll leave, maybe he'll resign. I don't know. But
in reality, and we also always have to look at what is reality or even close to reality. But reality of the whole thing is he don't give a good care about how anybody feels, because he's not running things according to how someone else might feel, or I would say this: he's not running according to how the populace of the country feels. He's doing things that he has been instructed to do.
Well, again, you taking away from the, when you say he's doing what he's instructed. That's true. He is partially. I would give 50% of that has to do with the fact that he has an agenda and a program that has to do with his supporters, those who support him, those who have put him in office, his handlers, those who are around him to keep him on the mission and agenda that they want to keep him on. But you also got to bear in mind his history and where he comes from, due to the fact that he came from a wealthy upbringing. He doesn't know what it's like to wonder where his meal is coming from. His father was wealthy. So he came from, this man was chauffeured as a child, chauffeured to school, from elementary school through high school, chauffeured. He didn't have to walk to school. He didn't take the bus. He had a chauffeur and a limo to take him to school. So along with the fact that his father had white nationalist views, grooming his son with those views, Donald Trump was not an only child, but he was one, I believe, of 4 children. But his father groomed him personally for a reason. He was groomed. So you can't just say that, he's like he's being controlled. When you are a willing participant, there is no control. Now that's you.
Well, now, there is control even if you're willingly being controlled, because he's not operating, let's say, strictly out of his own thoughts.
When those thoughts are that you say he doesn't have to, he does share the same thoughts. He shares the same thoughts. I mean, come on, that's like me joining an organization, and that organization has a leader. I'm not the leader, but it has a leader. So that leader is taking the organization in whatever direction he wants to take the organization. But if I'm a part of the organization, obviously I share the same views, principles, and agenda that the leader shares. So there is no control. There's a willingness and an agreement to go along with.
Yeah. If you go along with something willingly, yeah, but see, the direction that you're being taken in, that's where the control is. Even if you... What I'm saying is this. The thing that Donald Trump is doing and saying, majority of this is not coming out of his own mind, that he's thinking of himself. He got a program that was written out even before he was president that he has to follow. And this is all I'm saying.
Basically, you're saying that he's given a script. But see, you know what? It's already been said that the man doesn't go according to the script. He doesn't listen to his handlers. Look, there's two groups. Let me say this. There's two groups. There's two groups that I see. And I'm saying two main groups that are white nationalist groups that are trying to control things here. You have what is called the alt-right. Now, the question is, most people don't know nothing about the alt-right. I mean, to some people, this is some new information or a new term that they've heard. But the alt-right is not a new term. It's been around for several years, okay? And the alt-right is basically a person with white nationalist, a white supremacist ideology and philosophical views wrapped up in an educated, intelligent, well-dressed behavior and perspective. In other words, a white supremacist that looks like a business person, a white supremacist that, now I'm going to use the word white nationalist, but a white nationalist that looks like your next door neighbor, that works at the burger joint, that's your dentist, your police officer. That's the alt-right. So basically, get rid of the swastikas. Get rid of the radical yelling and threatening people. Get rid of the lynching. Get rid of all that. And still have your separatist views. Still have your separatist perspective. But be respectful of others so that they respect you. Still believe in white supremacy. Still believe in separatism. Still believe that you are more superior than them because you are genetically superior than them. But you know what? Keep it within the realms of your own personal perspective, because it's not a good thing to overtly do that out in the open. That's old. Basically changing from the radical to the more what they call the alt-right. See, now Donald Trump was raised with a father who expressed his perspective, but did it when he wanted to, did it how he felt, obviously, because Donald Trump says what he want to say, how he want to say it. What he said in that press conference where he was basically trying to equalize the situation between the protesters, even though one was shouting neo-Nazi rhetoric and white supremacist rhetoric, where the other ones were not shouting stuff like that, he was still sympathizing with the white nationalists. So it lets you know that, you know what, instead of him doing things from a more of a political, private, manipulative, alt-right perspective, his radical side comes out. And see, and that's what racists like to hear. But those who are prejudiced in a more moderate way, he was even talking about that. Even Breitbart talked about moderates. What are moderates? Moderates are the alt-right. Moderates are those who say, you know what, don't wear swastikas, don't talk like that. You keep those things to yourself, and you got the right to feel that way, but it's not good to outwardly express those things. There's two groups here, bro. There's two groups going on. You feel me?
Yeah. Well, I'm going why Trump said, this is my take on why he said that, said the thing that he said about people on both sides and everything and whatnot. I think the main thing that we have to look at the people that were out there, who the people were on both sides. Now, he condemned both sides, and he kind of gave kudos to both sides. Okay, so they canceled out each other, so it was a neutral demonstration. Even with the stuff that did happen, those were white folks out there. Yes, in the opposition group there was a few blacks, but it was mainly white folks. Because if you think about all the commentary that is spoken of when black groups are protesting and violent things happen, how it comes out, how the commentary is distributed. There wasn't really too much negative said about anything, except for I would say the lady that got killed, and to me that which was reported about him was very light.
Well, he definitely showed no remorse, no care at all about the protester Heather Heyer, who was mowed down by that white nationalist. But by you saying that he tried to split the thing, look. But see, when you go investigate the situation, you see, for one thing, anybody knows that white nationalists and neo-Nazis don't represent peace. Okay, they don't represent peace. And when you look at the video footage, you see them guys out there with torches, out there with bats and stuff, and out there with all, come on, man, with tire irons and stuff. That didn't sound like to me. So for him to equalize it showed his favoritism for the white nationalists. And this is the reason why he got nothing but positive kudos from those political extremist white ringers, and as well as the white supremacists.
I do agree with that. How he spoke. Some people say he spoke in code. Giving kudos to the people. And, I can accept that because he did not condemn them. The way he has condemned other black groups in the past, even those groups that would say didn't get violent. They were just aggressive in their protesting.
Well, no, okay. Even how he speak about immigrants. I mean, he speak about immigrants like they're all criminals and stuff. Yet he spoke about these white nationalists as if they were his brothers or family members or next door neighbors in his community. Go ahead, nephew.
I kind of feel like as a president, you shouldn't be talking down on people who's fighting against hate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what it is. Like, if you're fighting against hate, any type of hatred towards people, like, you should be not talking down on that. You know what I'm saying? You should not be trying to equalize that. You should be talking down on the people that are expressing that hate, that white nationalists hate it. Like, I don't. That doesn't make sense to me to try to equalize anything when they're fighting against hatred.
Exactly, and that's why women.
You got to realize that this hatred is something that runs this country. You know.
Yeah, but speaking to what my nephew was saying, by him saying that Trump, instead of Trump, he should have been taken aside. He should have been taken aside, which is the right side, not the right side of the extremists. But I'm talking about standing up for righteousness, the right side of righteousness, which was the left side, which was those who were protesting against those white supremacists, because the white supremacists was there protesting that they wanted to keep up a monument of General Lee, who was a Confederate white supremacist. So by the president trying to equalize it, it showed where his support and his loyalty lied. It lied with the white nationalists. And this is what my nephew is pointing out, that he should have stood up for what was right, which was righteous, on the side of righteousness. You feel me? And so the protest.
Okay, let me ask this question, and this isn't one of my originals. Now, let's say nothing happened nothing tragic happened at that rally. Let's say it was a peaceful rally. Would that rally, in your opinion, be okay?
No, it wouldn't be okay. Hell no. What?
Okay, why not? Why not?
Because they're preaching hatred against other people of color. That makes, or people that have different religious beliefs. That makes no sense. Like, just because somebody has a different religious belief or a different ethnic background doesn't mean you go rally and preach hatred against them. Like
okay, now, right. Based on my understanding, that rally was in relationship to that statue being taken down. Question: was there anything wrong with them having a rally concerning that statue being taken down?
Yes, because that person represents fighting for keeping black people as slaves.
Okay, but now, see, here's what I'm looking at. The rally within itself, them having a rally, is their right. Okay? I mean, whether we think it's wrong or
I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying as a president, you know what I'm saying?
No, well, let me comment on it. Let me comment on it. Let me comment on what you just said.
Your own viewpoint at this point.
Brother Curtin, let me comment on what you just said. Yes, to me, they shouldn't even have been able to get a permit. They should have been denied a permit. Why? Because what their group represent. The group represents hatred, violence, has a history of violence and hatred and mayhem and murder and massacres they've gotten away with, deaths they've gotten away with as a hate group themselves. They should have been denied a permit from the very beginning. I would love to know what county clerk stamped their paperwork as an approval for a permit, because they should have been denied a permit. They shouldn't even been out there with a permit to even have an organized rally because of what they represent. They are a hate group. They are a terrorist organization.
Now I know you might not know the specifics, but I'm just throwing it out there at this point. Somebody goes in there for a permit for a rally. Okay, now, how do you know if the person's part of a hate group or not?
Because you have to fill out the paperwork for the permit. And on the paperwork, whenever you fill out a permit to do a rally or to rent space at any state or county location, they want to know what group you represent. Are you a business entrepreneur? Are you a nonprofit organization? And most likely, due to the fact that they were doing a protest, they were registering as a nonprofit organization. Now, due to the fact that they were registering as a nonprofit organization, they still have to put down the name of their organization. They have to have also a nonprofit number as well, because they're applying for a permit for a county or a state park or wherever they getting it, regardless if it's county or state, they have to apply for this. So my point is this: is that due to the fact that they had to apply for this, they had to apply and register as an organization, they should have been denied because of what they represent. And I want you to know, let me finish. County clerks can deny you permits for a number of reasons, because of what you represent, if there's any violence that might entail due to what you're going to do as a protest or an organized protest. Is there any violence that can ensue? They could have been denied. Look, the police were out there. I want you to know, the police were out there in Charlottesville, and they did nothing. People out there fighting with each other. The police was not really doing a goddamn thing.
That is because they were all white folks.
You know what? You get no argument from me. Oh, you get no argument, but there wasn't all white people out there. There was some black folks out there. Matter of fact, and I want you to know, look, and I want you to know some people, look, and
the black folks who were out there were insignificant. If I said the word right.
Look,
they didn't matter.
Look.
The black folks out
there was black people out there too. It was more white people, but there were some black folks out there. And I want you to know, even though Heather Hare, she was the one who got violently killed because of the car being mowed into the crowd. There was also about another 19 or 20 other people who got seriously injured. Also, there was also, I heard recently through news media of a young man, but they took a torch and they jabbed it into his throat. So he was also fatal. He's like hanging on. He might die too. He's in the hospital still. They jabbed the tiki torch into his neck. You feel me? They were out there. Look, this thing got out of control, and it shouldn't even been like that. You feel me? It shouldn't even be like that.
The thing that I'm trying to help people understand is that this isn't going to be presented the way it should be presented because it was all white folks. And when I say I'm not. Like I said, the few blacks that were out there, that they didn't even count.
I agree with you. I agree with you. To me, the positive thing, the thing that can be brought out of this in a positive way is the fact that I give it up to white people that was out there standing against this crap. I give it up to those who they were trying to call because Trump tried to call them the alt-left, and there is no such thing as an alt-left, but I want you to know there is a such thing as an alt-right, and I got the information on that too. But I give it up to those white people that went out there to stand up against those the racist protesters. I give it up to those white people. I got much honor, and we should all remember Heather Hare. The young black. I said young black. She was a young white woman who was killed. Okay, who went out there to take a stand. Heather Hare. That's her name. Her name is Heather Hare. And, but her death should not be in vain. Meaning other white people should take a stand. I'm not saying that they should all go out there and protest, but take a stand in your family. Take a stand on your job. Take a stand in your community. Take a stand. Don't follow and go along with the flow like a monkey see, monkey do. Don't go along with the flow like a puppet. Take a stand in your family. Stand for the values of truth, the values of right, the values of moral value principles of treating everybody with the same love and respect. Because we all live in here in the same country. So we might as well live like a family. Shoot. So, I gotta go. I just burnt up a whole 30 minutes, and I gotta go. But before we go, anybody got any last words they want to say before we hit the dough? No last words from my people.
I was just gonna say I thought it was a good podcast, some good information about Donald Trump and his father. Some good information.
Any last words, my brother Currington, who I had a good discussion with? I like when he comes in with some good discussion.
Well, I just say we need to really look at, the deeper picture behind, and understand who's really running the show. And over here, it's really not the president. It's really not.
Well, you know what?
He's just.
I say that it's not just the president. It's not just him. There's other people that's playing their part too.
Well,
right.
Look,
he's just a smoke screen.
Well, maybe I'm at
put the blame on.
But he's part of it though. He's
part of it. He's in agreement with the whole program. That's why he's there.
Okay, well,
because he's part of the program.
Hey, look, you get no argument from me. Maybe we'll have to do a show on that. I'm going to do a podcast on that. We can call it the Puppet Masters Behind the Scenes. I don't know. But we had to do a show
There's
on that.
There's the title, right? I said, there's the title right there.
Puppet Masters Behind the Scene. Okay, that's the title right there. I'm going to have to do a podcast on that. I'll go get my information, present what you know. You get no argument that there's Puppet Masters behind the scene, but the thing about it, my question is that people who allow themselves to be controlled, then there's people who have no control. So we can talk about that, you feel me? So, there's the what do you call it, the Manchurian Candidate? How you go, what's that? Remember that movie? The Manchurian? Yeah, we can talk about that.
Manchurian?
Yeah, with the Manchurian Candidate. We can talk about the Manchurian Candidate. Is everybody, you saying everybody is, I don't know, is everybody in public position? Are they a Manchurian candidate? Or maybe they're just going along with the agenda because they're part of the program and they agree with it. We can go there with that. But until then, I got to end my show. And I appreciate my brothers who showed up and showed their support. I always enjoy discussion with my brother Currington. I appreciate my nephew showing up. And I would definitely be back. I would be black. You can always join me here at the Black Village Community Podcast, Pacific Standard Time from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. every delicious Black Sunday. I will drop nothing but the raw and uncut. You can join me here toll free. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a bit of your conscious time. You can join me here at 857-232-0155, or you can also chime in at 855-445-9340, and don't forget the conference key to get through the conference door, which is 94759. But I gotta go. I might conclude this, I might not. I might conclude this, or I might just go on and talk about, because my next subject matter is going to be about the Washita indigenous Indians. You feel me? We're gonna talk about that. I ain't done with that. I'm not done with talking about my Aboriginal people. You feel me? So I'm gonna come back with some information on that. I got some more information I'm gonna be sharing about our indigenous culture, the Lenni Lenape. I'm gonna talk about those people, those indigenous brothers and sisters. I'm gonna talk about the Nottoway people. Look. Enough information out there I'm gonna share with my people because I love my people. But until then, I will definitely be back, and I will definitely be black and Aboriginal. So on that note, as I always say, may the Great Mother bring us together under the wings of her love and peace. And as always, I love chicken, so love, peace, and chicken grease. I gotta go. Outie.
Night of the long night. It's the night of the long night. When we all come together, hope we don't collide. One black man's killed every 28 hours by pigs in these fake vigilante cowards, claiming they scared only after they profile us and beat us or worse, so we hit back first. Set it off with a Molotov homemade charge. Black when the strap off, captain sword. Can't trust, so we bust on officers. Now they calling all car suspects at large, so we blast first, then we ask questions last. Do like they do, mob and mash. Do like they do, ain't no pass, no stop, no trip, just slap that ass. Cause we say gunplay's only thing that works. Squeeze, retreat in guerrilla spurts. Do a drive-by, clap and squirt. From the rooftop, shoot, nigga, hit it and run. Because the only language America speaks is violence. The only language America understands is violence.